This is problem number 5 from the Venn diagrams problems packet, and this is probably the hardest problem in the packet because you have a lot of things going on. The 3 circles are not filled in for you, and so you need to take the information that's given first of all and fill in all of these different spaces in the diagram. So I'm going to go through that process and just kind of show you how I thought about this problem and try to make a little bit of sense out of it, as it's a pretty complicated problem. So see if you can follow these steps that I take and sort of my logic as I work through this problem. So it's Coach Crutch has offered to buy hot dogs for the players on the team. And of the 44 players, and I'm going to, again, I always try to keep track of important information. So we got 44 total players to begin with. Important number, and we'll come back to that number more so at the end, but it's important to remember there's 44 to begin with. And it says 28 want ketchup. And I just want to start with the idea that that means that this entire circle is going to have a total of 28 people represented in it. So I'm going to just put a little 28 out here on the side, just to remind myself that there's 28 in this entire circle. And then on the next piece, 20 want mustard. And again, I'm going to remind myself by putting the number 20 out here that this entire circle is going to have a total of 20 people represented in it. Some of those 20 are actually going to be represented also in these 28 where they overlap in this middle part. So some of these 20 will also be a part of this 28 because some of them want both. And so they will be all represented through that. So again, I'm keeping that 20 out there to remind me as I go. And then it says 14 wanted relish. And again, that means this entire circle is going to have a total of 14 people represented in it. So I'm going to put a 14 here to, again, remind myself that there will be 14 total in this circle. When I add up all these different parts, it's going to add up to 14. When I add up all these different parts, it's going to add up to 20. And 28 for this section. These overlaps are going to be a part of that. And then it gives me some other pieces of information that I'm also going to try to represent. It says 10 wanted ketchup and mustard. So 10 want these two. So this little overlap piece here in the center is going to have a total of 10 in it altogether. So when I add what's in here and what's in here, those two are going to add up to 10 because it says ketchup and mustard, and that's the overlap for ketchup and mustard. And then it says 11 wanted ketchup and relish. So that's the overlap between ketchup and relish right here. And so that's going to be 11. I'm going to put this number here. It's going to represent what's in there, where that overlap is. And then it says 8 wanted mustard and relish. So the mustard and relish overlap is going to include 8 people right in there. And again, now these 8 are included in the 20. They're included in the 14. They're included in that 10. So all these overlaps, that's why I'm not putting numbers inside yet, because I want to understand the overlaps compared to the totals before I start doing any of that. And really the most important piece of information is this last piece, because this is the one I needed to begin to do anything here. 6 wanted all 3. And that's the only thing I know for sure right now, is that there's 6 in the middle. And that's the key to this whole thing. If there's 6 in the middle, then that determines everything from here on out, because now I can start working out from the center to all these different sections, because I kept track of there's 28 in this circle, there's 20 in this circle, there's 14 in the relish circle, there's 8 in the overlap between mustard and relish, there's 11 in the overlap between ketchup and relish, and there's 10 in the overlap between mustard and ketchup. The 6 in the middle determine everything from here, because now I can work into these other overlaps. Because right here, if there's 10 total in the ketchup and mustard overlap, and there's already 6 here, that means that this has to be the other 4, because 6 plus 4 gives me the 10 that I know are in this overlap. And so I've got that part taken care of. Now I'm going to go to the mustard relish overlap, which is a total of 8. In this overlap, it said there's 8 that want mustard and relish. 6 of them are already accounted for in the center, which means there has to be 2 there, because 6 plus 2 gives me the 8 that wanted mustard and relish. And then I work to this third section where there are 11 that want ketchup and relish, 6 already represented in the center, and so the 11 minus the 6 gives me the 5, or if you think of it this way, 6 plus 5 are the 11 in this section. So that overlap, ketchup and relish, is a total of 11. Ketchup and mustard is a total of 10. Mustard and relish is a total of 8, which is what our information at the beginning told us. 10 wanted ketchup and mustard, there's that 10. 11 wanted ketchup and relish, there's that 11. And 8 wanted mustard and relish. So I've taken care of the overlap pieces, and now I can take care of the final sections where I just have ketchup, mustard, and relish. And again, I'm going to go back to what they gave me at the beginning. 28 want ketchup. Well, we've already accounted for 6 and 4 and 5, so 15 of them are already accounted for. So if I take the 28 minus, I'm going to actually put them in like this so we can see we did the 5 plus the 6 plus the 4, or think of it this way, 28 minus 15 tells me that there are 13 in this part that just want ketchup. So that's the just ketchup people. And if we again just think all these added together give me the 28 in this circle. So then let's move over to the mustard. And mustard is a total of 20 in this entire circle. We've already accounted for 6 plus 4 plus 2, or 12. And so I'm going to take the 20 minus the 6 and the 4 and the 2, or 20 minus 12, and that gives me 8 that are just mustard. And then we have one last section to fill in, the relish section, and there's a total of 14 in the relish section. And so we have 6 and the 5 and the 2 already there as a part of that circle. And so I need to take the 14 minus those 3 added together. And those 3 added together equal 13. So we have just 1 in this section that wants relish. So here's our numbers. There's 4 in the ketchup and mustard, and then there's 6 that want all 3, and 5 that want ketchup and relish in this part without mustard, and we have the 2 that want mustard and relish but no ketchup. So each of these parts represents a different thing. 13 just want ketchup. 4 want ketchup and mustard but not relish. These people over here these 8 want just mustard. And again, just continuing through each of these parts, understanding what they now represent. Once we have these numbers in these different sections, then we can answer the questions. If we miss this part, the rest of it won't be right at all. So we're going to try to use the numbers we have and see if this makes sense now. So if we think of players that want ketchup only, so just ketchup, and that when you just look at our circle here are the people that just want ketchup. We already did the 28 minus 15, take away all these people, and so just ketchup is 13. And then how many players want mustard but not relish? So when we look at mustard but not relish, so these people want mustard, these people want mustard, but not relish. So we cannot include these because they include relish. So we just have these 8 and these 4 that want mustard but not relish. Can't include the relish section. So 8 plus 4 is 12. So there's the 12, these 8, and these 4 mustard, but not relish. Cross that section off if I were crossing things off. All right, C, question C. How many players want relish but not mustard? So now we're looking at relish. So here's our relish circle. Relish but not mustard. Don't want to include these people because they want mustard. So relish but not mustard. 5 and 1. Those 5 and that 1. Excluding these 8. So relish but not mustard is 5 and 1, or 6. All right, moving on. How many players want ketchup and mustard but not relish? So we have an and statement and a not statement. So we want ketchup and mustard but not relish. So we have to look up here, ketchup and mustard but not relish. So ketchup and mustard but not relish. Just those 4. So we don't want to include these 6 because they also wanted relish. They're in the relish circle as well. So 4. So the and statement again shows there's fewer things that are true, and when we also have the not statement in there, there's even fewer choices, so it reduces the number way down. And then number E, or question E, how many players want relish and mustard but not ketchup? So we have another and statement and another not statement, so we look at the relish and mustard section. So relish and mustard, so this overlap right here, the relish and mustard overlap, but not ketchup. So we again exclude those. So this is relish and mustard, but not ketchup. So we only have those 2 that fit that description. And now we have an interesting question that we really didn't address because we really didn't think about it at the very beginning. How many players want none of the 3 condiments? So that means how many people are outside of these circles altogether? In the very beginning it said there were 44 players. And so to answer this question, we have to remember that there's 44 total, but we don't know if they're all represented on these circles. So we really need to add up all of these numbers together to figure out. And the mistake that's often made is some people will add these numbers, the 28, the 20, and the 14. The problem with that is that those numbers include overlaps, and so you end up counting things twice. So the best way to solve this problem is actually to count each of these individual parts and add them together. So if we do that, we take each part, and I'm just going to do this off to the side right here so we can see it. So I'm going to take the 13 plus the 5 plus the 6 plus the 4 plus the 2 plus 8 plus 1. And that includes all of my parts. That one, 13, 5, 6, 4, 2, 8, 1. Add those all together. And I think I get 39 if I add that up correctly. And so that means that these 3 circles only represent a total of 39 people. And if there were 44 to begin with, 44 players, then that means that some of them, 44 minus the 39, means that 5 players didn't want any. So that's the other 5 really that are outside the circles. The 44 minus 39 equals the 5 that wanted none, neither ketchup, mustard, nor relish. Now that's again very complicated, challenging problem, but it begins with taking the information and correctly identifying the problem and filling in the circles correctly. If you get these circles filled in correctly and understand overlaps and how they are represented in the different parts of the problem, then answering the questions is much easier. This might be one of those videos where you want to go back and watch several times how I came up with these numbers in these different parts in order to understand how to take this type of diagram and this type of information and put it into the diagram in order to make sense of it. I hope that made some sense to those of you that are watching this, and that you can use that to help you solve Venn diagram problems in the future.